What happened to the lawyer who got Epstein his bizarrely lenient plea deal when he was first arrested on sex trafficking charges in Florida? What happened to the lawyer who got him that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Well, Trump hired him to be his own lawyer. What happened to the U.S. attorney who gave Jeffrey Epstein that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Trump put him in his cabinet in his first term. Well, who then prosecuted Epstein a second time when he was brought up on federal charges? That was the SDNY line prosecutor who Trump inexplicably fired. Who was in charge of the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons when Epstein then killed himself in federal custody? President Donald Trump. Who bragged to a reporter about how much Epstein seemed to like women on the younger side? Who said Epstein was a lot of fun to be with? Who bragged that he was friends with Epstein for 15 years? Who flew on his plane at least 7 times? And who now says that everybody needs to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein right now? Answers there are Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump.
The president raised new questions as he spoke to reporters before leaving the White House. Mr. Trump today repeatedly praised Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who previously served as his personal lawyer. Blanche met privately today with Epstein's longtime girlfriend and accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, for a second day in a row. The president also repeatedly dodging questions on whether he's considering a pardon or commutation for Maxwell, who's serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking.
Well, I don't know about the meeting. I know it's taking place, and he's a fantastic man. He's a great attorney, and people should really focus on how well the country's doing.
Have you heard about Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Are you still disappointed in President
pardon or clemency for Ghislaine?
Well, I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to say is that Todd is a great attorney.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
But you wouldn't consider clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell? Is that all?
I can't talk about that now because, it's a very sensitive interview going on.
Can you trust what she's telling him? She's a convicted trafficker who's eager to get out of prison.
Well, he's a professional lawyer. I think he's been through things like this before.
Well, these people, Cash came on the podcast and said there's nothing that you want to see. This guy,
nothing you need to see.
Dan Bongino, who's always shouting from the rooftops, we're going to get to the bottom of this and find out who these people are. Everyone's saying, no, Epstein killed himself. No, nothing to see here. And it's like, okay, well, that's why people are cynical. People are cynical because you had all this hope for change. And then you realize, the same people that are pulling the strings are still pulling the strings.
A judge has sentenced former British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell to 20 years in prison.
A federal jury convicted Maxwell in December for helping her longtime associate Jeffrey Epstein recruit, groom, and sexually abuse teenage girls.
What is she guilty of? Ms. Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison for doing what? For conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse children.
Let's not forget, Ms. Maxwell is a convicted sex trafficker and has already been charged with lying under oath.
What could Todd Blanche be getting out of Maxwell that we don't already know about?
I'm not so sure. And so a little bit of a background on Maxwell. One of our colleagues pointed this out and reminded me of it today. There was a pretty significant detention hearing for her, an effort to keep her behind bars pending trial. And unlike what we see at a lot of detention hearings, there were actually witnesses that were brought there. And there was testimony that was elicited even from a realtor in New Hampshire. And I think that testimony might be instructive for people that are looking towards Ghislaine Maxwell for answers. I'll let the audience decide. It was determined that she had changed her name and misrepresented her name in the course of purchasing a property in New Hampshire, where she was arrested by FBI agents from the Boston field office the day she was taken into custody. At that time, agents testified in court documents from prosecutors said that she was in the process of actually wrapping up her cell phones in tinfoil in what may have been a misguided effort for agents to be able to locate her cell phones. It was discovered that she was married, and there were numerous instances in the course of the application for her to remain behind bars by federal prosecutors where she, according to them, misled them repeatedly on the location and the amount of her assets. So what they described before the court, and remember this actually, because of some things that happened within the trial, we never got to the perjury charge charges that were levied against her. Those were ultimately not brought in a separate trial because she was convicted on what she was convicted on. But there was a significant amount of perjury charges and conduct that was made in the initial charges against her. So this is somebody where, according to federal prosecutors in the past, has a demonstrated history of lying to federal prosecutors, lying to the government, and lying in the course of depositions under oath in proceedings.
Let's find out, what is this all about? And she's also been subpoenaed by the Oversight Committee. I think this is great. I do have a feeling that she just might be a victim. She just might be.